Hello, my name is Bob. Welcome to a short stop on pool. This is Rack of the Week number 22 and we're back to normal. This is me successfully making it through a rack of straight pool. And this one is very recent. This is just 5 days ago. This is actually the first rack of straight pool that I played after getting a practice table installed at home a week earlier. I was happy to make it through my first rack of the day, and there's a few positional shots in this rack that demonstrate how millimeters can matter or fractions of an inch can matter. So let's get into the rack. The video is zoomed way in because the camera's on the wrong end of the table and all the action takes place on that far end anyway. This is a low break ball and it's a couple ball diameters away from the rack. I think this is the type of shot that the old timers would use high and inside, so high left, and bring the cue ball 2 rails out to center table. But with today's equipment, I see so many players hitting it much more forcefully and with a high outside English, high right in this case, and I'm no exception. The result was a bit atypical. Let's take a look at that in slow motion. Typically, the 2 bottom corner balls of the rack move first, and a few perimeter balls opposite from the cue ball, leaving a cluster in the rack area. The atypical part is that the cue ball gets double kissed by that corner ball. You can see it back up and go forward just in time to get hit by that 10. Usually the cue ball will go to the bottom rail and then come back up, and the outside English slows it down a lot. So that was a bit unfortunate, and I've got a tough shot to start the rack. I'd really love to shoot this 2 ball, and I checked the angle. I just don't quite have enough room past that stripe to shoot the 2 ball comfortably. I'd have to spin it or do a slight massé. So I'm committing to cut this 4 ball. I'm not sure if the cue ball is going to hit the 14 or not, but I don't want to be dribbling this 4 ball into the pocket. I need to shoot it with a little bit of authority, hoping that 2 ball is going to be my insurance ball and possibly be my next shot. With 100% of my energies going into just pocketing the ball, this is a great result. I can just barely see the 2 ball, and I've got a jack up, so this is just make the 2 ball. I'm not playing any position. Obviously, I've got 3 shots to choose from after this. So just make the 2 ball. Now from this position, I see a lot of beginners and even intermediate players choosing to shoot the 7 ball and then possibly use that stripe to open up the cluster. And if the rest of the rack was fairly open, that might be the correct shot. And as straight pool players, we're always looking for that real easy stop shot to keep shooting. But in this instance, the rack is very clustered. And for that reason, the stripe below the 8 ball, I think that's the 9, is always the correct shot. And you can't be afraid of a little back cut shot in straight pool. That comes up so frequently. And in this case, we're using a high ball, and that's going to make the 7 and the other stripe into insurance balls. So rather than shooting off your easy shots, you need to recognize when those are insurance balls for a much wiser shot. And this was just a spectacular result. Those balls just opened like a flower. That's one of the most beautiful things about straight pool. And so it only took 3 shots after the break shot to go from something that looked impossible to something that looks like a near certainty. Okay, back to business. I have a break ball in the 8 ball, and it's reasonably clear of other balls around it, so I'm going to commit to that shot. I've got a couple of possible key balls. There's one over by the side pocket. It's a little bit far away. I'd rather use one of these balls that is closer. So what do you do when you have a key ball? You look diagonally across the table for a K2 ball. Now with the 6 ball, you've got to land really close to straight in on the 6 in order to have a real dependable way to get on one of those key balls. But the 10 ball would be great. You can get a lot of different angles on that 10 ball and still be able to move the cue ball over and get on one of those key balls. So my initial sort of instinctual plan is to remove the balls that are not going to be part of that end pattern. And I'm also recognizing that the 9 ball is a good key ball to get on the 10 ball. So I shoot this stripe on the rail with the intention of using the 7 ball to move the cue ball further up table. And if you remember last week, I mentioned that mid-rack, it's often a very good idea to leave a ball along the bottom rail. And I don't think it would be a mistake to leave the 7 ball and use that stripe to play position maybe for the 6 or something else. But if you noticed, I checked the angle for that stripe ball into the side pocket, because from that ball I can go to the 6 or the 1 or that 15 in the side. I've got lots of options. And here's where the first millimeters or perhaps centimeters make a difference, because I didn't quite come far enough to be real comfortable in shooting that 11, and the cue ball is going to move too far after that shot. So now I have to switch to the 9 ball. The 9-ball's a really delicate shot into that side pocket, so I don't want to be doing very much with the cue ball. So I'm just going to make this and then reevaluate my plan. I'm walking over to see if the 15 ball goes between all those balls in the left corner pocket. And it does. I have a full pocket for that 15 ball, so that settles the in pattern for me. Dealing with these clustered balls without bumping any of them is the priority, along with maintaining a key ball and a K2 ball. And I'm not saying this is the best or only pattern, but what I see is that the strike ball on the right side of the table can be a key ball for the 15. Getting rid of the 15 solves everything, because I can use the 15 to set up for the stripe below the spot. Then I have a straight in shot on the 1 ball on the side, and either the 6 or the 10 becomes the key ball for the 12. But all of this depends on getting just the right angle on the 15 ball. If I end up too thin on the 15 and I have to draw the cue ball to the side rail and back out, then everything just becomes much less predictable. Now, with that stripe ball being as close as it is to the side pocket, that gives me a margin of error to be able to get on the 15 ball well. But I still want to get pretty good on that ball in the side pocket. I can use the 10 ball and just draw back, or I could shoot the 6 and come 2 rails around. I think the chances of landing in the right spot off the 10 ball are much higher. That makes the 6 ball my K2 ball, so I better get my millimeters right. Okay, this looks good. Now, I've already checked the angle for the 15, so I know I need the cue ball to move forward just a little bit. Okay, so I got my millimeters right there. Now I need the cue ball to be just above straight in to the other stripe into the left corner, so that I can get a good angle on the 1 ball. So I got my millimeters wrong there. I wanted to stun the cue ball to the side just a little bit, but it's possible that a fear of hitting the 6 ball kept that from happening. Now, in hindsight, what I should have done is just drawn the cue ball straight back, because the farther back it goes, the less of a cut angle I have on that stripe. Now, this isn't the end of the world. Obviously, I can just follow the cue ball forward off the bottom rail and get that shot on the 1 ball. But now I've got to get my millimeters correct there, because I don't want to end up hooked behind the 8 ball. The point here is that when playing straight pool, precision matters. Straight pool is very much a game of precise cue ball control. If you're playing 9 ball, you pretty much just need to get on the right side of the ball. Even if you get on the wrong side, there's often a route to get back in line. But in straight pool, millimeters matter. And even though I complete this rack, if you allow imprecision to creep into your straight pool game, sooner or later, it is going to bite you. So I got my millimeters perfect on this 1 ball. If you noticed, I went and checked the angle, and I'm just below straight in. So I can stun the cue ball softly into the 12. That stops the cue ball. It improves the 12 as a key ball. And I've got a perfect stop shot on the 6, my K2 ball, to get on the key ball. I was so happy with how well that went. I set my cue down thinking I was already on the break shot. No, you got to shoot your key ball first. Now I do walk around, check the angle real quickly. I just want to roll forward a little bit. Get close to parallel to the rail on the 8, and that's going to be a real powerful break shot. Now, Thorsten Homan might draw this cue ball to the head rail, and if you know me, you know I like to hit this break shot pretty hard. But I've been experimenting with a little more control on my break shots and settling for a little bit more clustered rack. Now, this isn't a bad result. Compare it to the break shot that began this rack. I have a cluster in the rack area. I've got 4 or 5 open shots and an opportunity to re-break the rack and continue the run. This is very akin to what a lot of people consider to be old school straight pool, where you do not try to open the rack on a single break shot. Let me know in the comment section if you think you see a pattern that doesn't require so much precision and still is a reliable way to get on that break ball. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found that informative and helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Check out my book, A Short Stop on Straight Pool. You can find it at shortstoponpool.com. And stay tuned for next week's Rack of the Week.